Hi, my name is Allie Laws, and I was assigned Chapter 7 on instincts. So, as you already know, Charles Darwin is a naturalist who went on a voyage on the HMS Beagle. While on this voyage for 5 years, Charles Darwin observed and collected data as he discovered many unique species. As his health declined, Charles Darwin was urged to publish his discoveries and theories on the origin of species in order to be credited for his work. His discoveries on the HMS Beagle are the foundation Charles Darwin used to write this book, which is called On the Origin of Species. The main idea of this book is that species are not created individually, instead they are connected and descended from some other species. Previously, variation was believed to have been caused solely by external conditions such as climate, food, etc. Yet, Charles Darwin emphasizes the significance of internal conditions of the species itself and the effects of variation among these species. He states that the main cause for variation among species is natural selection, which means that the higher survival rate / reproduction rate of certain populations is due to advantageous traits being passed along. Charles Darwin also includes some challenges to his belief on the origin of species. This is my summary of Chapter 7. Charles Darwin defines instinct as something that is performed without any experience in order to aid in survival or reproduction. Instinctive behaviors are performed for the sole purpose of benefiting the individual itself, although some instinct performed by a particular species can actually benefit another species, as seen in the relationship between aphids and ants. The aphids only release their secretions when stimulated by the antenna of an ant, and the ant uses the secretions as food for energy, and the plant benefits by getting their excretions removed. Another aspect of instincts that Charles Darwin discussed is that the same species can have different instincts. He also explains the cross between different dog breeds with different instincts and how the offspring has the instincts of both parent breeds. This emphasizes the strength in which instincts are inherited, and he explains how this further proves the theory of natural selection. He also explains that instincts may be lost due to domestication, as seen in dogs. Then he explains how different communities of F. sanguina utilize the sterile slave ants differently based on what is most beneficial to them. The slave ants are not able to reproduce, therefore their varying instincts must be passed down through natural selection and not just genetic inheritance. He states that different species of bees make their hives and combs differently, and the hive building instincts that are more successful in the struggle for existence. This all supports the main idea that instincts are naturally selected by survival of the fittest. This is my summary of scientific progress made since On the Origin of Species. Since Charles Darwin wrote On the Origin of Species in 1859, there have been many advancements in research on natural selection of instincts. In particular, there has been much progress made in the study of slave ants and their unique instincts. These advancements are discussed in the Biological Journal of the Linnaean Society. Due to new technology, these scientists were able to delve much deeper into the lives of ants within their communities. They have been able to study the brain investment of each individual ant to see which part of their brain is dominantly used for their specific jobs in the colony. It has been discovered that the slave worker ants, F. fusca, have higher brain investment in the mushroom body calyx than the slave-making ants. This is said to be because slave worker ants perform more complex instinctive tasks than the slave maker ants, therefore leading to more activity in this area of the brain. These scientists were able to closely observe these differences in brain activity of ants using very high magnification and advanced photographic technology. In addition to these findings in the Biological Journal of the Linnaean Society, Solger is able to predict that there will be reductions in slave maker mushroom body calyx investment relative to the enslaved workers and independently derived slave maker ant taxa. This means that through natural selection, brain investment of slave making ants will decrease over time as it is not needed. When Charles Darwin was studying the instinctive behaviors of these slave ants, He was only able to analyze the ant by watching how it behaves in its respective colony from the outside. With modern advancements, scientists have been able to actually analyze the physical anatomical differences of the ants' brains. Since On the Origin of Species was written, there have been over 50 new species of slave ants discovered. When studying slave ants and their instincts, Charles Darwin did not go into detail about the cause of sterility in worker ants because he was unsure. In a scientific article titled Self-Restraint and Sterility in Workers of Acromurex and Atta leafcutter ants, they study the evolutionary aspect leading up to sterility in worker ants. One way that worker ants evolved to be sterile is through reproductive self-restraint. According to Dijkstra, reproductive self-restraint may have been maintained by a queen or worker policing mechanism. Another way that worker ants have become sterile is through old age, which causes ovary resorption. Overall, there have been many modern advancements in the study of natural selection of instinct since Charles Darwin's publication of his book in 1859. In this final section of the book, Charles Darwin sums up everything to really drive his point home. One of the main takeaways from this book is the fact that all current species have evolved from a common ancestor through descent with modification. He also explains the role that migration plays in the process of natural selection. Charles Darwin also describes the relationship between men and the evolution of animals. Charles Darwin explains that men do not actually produce variability between species. Instead, they utilize animals for their own benefit, and over time, the selection of these groups leads to their traits becoming dominant. He explains that through natural selection, different groups of animals around the world seem to have evolved simultaneously. He explains that all of this is only possible through gradual changes over a long period of time. He explains that the geological record is far from perfect because there are so many things left undiscovered. Darwin also voices how hopeful he is for future research and evolution as new advancements become available.